The more sophisticated customers have started to almost do the reverse of what a fraud rule does. In the past, people would write conditions to try and recognize fraud. So, this is a high-risk purchase, in a high-risk country. Our most effective customers have started to almost write rules for the opposite of that, which is to try and recognize good behavior. So identify customers that travel frequently, identify customers that usually have high-risk purchases, and filter those customer transactions out, again in an effort to reduce the overall false positive rate. And I think with the implementation of chip and pin technology now, there's going to be a greater requirement to start to decision higher risk transactions while still allowing customers to transact. And there's many examples of really effective strategies that our customers have deployed. For example, they can start to leverage location-based information from an online transaction, compare that to a credit card or debit card transaction, and identify if the probability of that customer being in those locations is even viable. And so the flexibility of the solution allows you to implement rules and conditions that are not limited to the analytics that are delivered with the solution, but in fact allow our customers to be ingenious and create new and effective strategies to stop fraud and mitigate risk while still keeping the customer as the central focus. Yeah, what it means is that you're actually making decisions for that customer based on all of their transactions across all the channels, as opposed to simply looking at their behavior across the debit card channel or credit card channel or online channel on it independently. So that's a step towards an enterprise fraud decision solution that allows you to not only recognize the behaviors of the customer across the channels, but then also identify anomalous transactions very effectively by realizing if a behavior is simply a movement across one channel or is a net new transaction. So for example, a customer pays their bills at the branch and then starts to use online banking. If you only looked at it from the perspective of online banking, it would look like net new high-risk behavior. But understanding that it's normal behavior that's transitioned from the branch to the online channel allows us to identify it as normal customer behavior and prevent false positives from being created. Mobile banking is a new transaction channel. If a customer has PRM in place, they can leverage that same solution, add the mobile banking transactions to the solution, and start to protect that channel from fraud. ACI analytics are behavioral-based analytics that store information forever. They store information in something called a profile. A profile is simply a statistical representation of behavior. So for example, the average amount taken out in an ATM could be a profile-based variable. We can store that variable over a month, a week, or a year and use that variable to compare against the current transaction. Now, maintaining behavioral-based profiles allows us to quickly identify transactions that are anomalous to profiles. A rule, for example, may say if the transaction amount is $500 and this is the first time you've used an ATM, that's high risk. A profile variable would compare that high-risk transaction to known past behavior. So if this customer has a propensity of normally taking out $500 at new ATMs, it's not as high risk as if a customer always uses the same ATMs and generally only takes out $200. So by comparing or providing a combination of both rules and behavioral-based analytics, we provide the best of both worlds, or the best capability to really focus in and zero in on the transactions that are most suspicious. The secure business line is releasing capability solutions. Capability solutions are really a combination of products that are geared towards solving a particular business problem. So for example, in the wholesale environment right now, there's a fear of man-in-the-browser type attacks, where there's actual physical code that resides inside the browser that enacts after a customer authenticates. That code has the potential to execute transactions even after a customer is authenticated, bypassing the effectiveness of authentication. So we've created a capability solution specific for wholesale transactions that combines both an approach for dashboarding and management of the operations team and rules, as well as an interoperability between our online banking platform, Enterprise Banker, and ACI PRM, which is our secure fraud prevention product. ACI is at first an enterprise fraud detection solution. It allows you to detect transactions across all of your customer channels and all transaction types. The advantage of a solution that's deployed means that as new transaction types or new channels like mobile banking or peer-to-peer payments start to be deployed and developed in the organization, you can leverage the exact same infrastructure that's already in place and extend it to cover those new transactions and channels. So as opposed to a point solution that may be effective for a single channel, a single transaction type, PRM provides the capability to not only solve a point product with a capability solution, but then leverage that same infrastructure across the enterprise to grow with the organization.